Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Professor Heinz's Choice. Here in today's video, I'm going to show you the brand new update that's come to ACR, Lightroom, and Lightroom Classic on the brand new masking tools. And I'm going to go through a series of images and show you just how great of an improvement this is for ACR and Lightroom users. So stay tuned. Today I'm going to show you several images, with a few of the images actually some that I've shown here previously on my channel. And I'm going to do that so that way you can actually go back to those older tutorials and see how I applied those selective adjustments then as opposed to now, which is a whole lot faster, and it just makes doing these selective adjustments so much easier. Now, if you're, of course, doesn't matter which version of Lightroom you're using, or if you happen to use Adobe Camera Raw, everything that you see is going to be the same. So let's jump right into Adobe Lightroom Classic. And so we have one of my images that I recently just took, which is of a sunset in Manhattan. Now, I've gone through all of my adjustments already for my edit, but I have not done any of my selective adjustments. What I want to do is select the sky region because I really want that to look a little bit more exaggerated. Now, if we look here, you notice this panel within Lightroom is very different. It's a lot cleaner look because that now has where we just have one option for our masking tools. Where you previously saw your brush and your gradients, it's now housed within this specific masking panel. So you still have your brush, you still have your gradients, color range, luminance range, all of that's back. Everything is the same, but there are two brand new options that you see here at the top, and that is select subject and select sky. Watch, it's just so exciting to talk about this and what this can do. Really excited to show this. So I want to highlight my sky. Previously, what I would have done is say maybe use a linear gradient here and bring that down, adjust it to where I want, so that way I could include my sky region for my edit, or I would have done an adjustment brush and, come in here and highlight the sky region. Now, just doing that, you saw how doing the brush, it's taking time to do that. Well, Adobe decided, let's make it easier for photographers. I'm going to undo this, and we're going to do our new selection that says select sky. Now, with AI, the program is going to analyze the image and look for the sky. Now watch what happens. It has selected the entire sky. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. Just one click. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go and paint over the sky like I did before with the brush tool. It selected the sky on its own. So once it's done that, I can just get to working on my image. To note, it turned red, and I have that selected to show an overlay of the red color, so that way you see what is being selected. Now you can actually choose what color you want your overlay to be. If you want it to stay red, or, say I want it to be a green color, I can do that too. It's your preference as far as what you want your overlay color to be. So once we have our area selected, now I can make my adjustments. So I'm going to take the overlay off so we can see the adjustments being made. And I want to add some clarity. So let's add a little clarity. Let's bring down our black level. And maybe add a little white in there. Boom, that's it. Very simple. Now, I also want to do a selective adjustment on the buildings. What do I select in order to do that? Well, we're going to create a new mask, and this time we're going to select subject. Now, the cool thing about this is that it doesn't work on just people. It works on inanimate objects, it works on pets. The AI will analyze the image, and it will determine what kind of subject within that image you might want to adjust. Is it 100% perfect? No, but I'm going to show you what happens. Say if it's not perfect, what do you do to sort of get it to perfect? So let's demonstrate, because this image is one where it has a little twist to it. So let's do select subject. And again, we're going to let the program do its thing. Once it does its thing, it's going to highlight there. And we have our overlay selected. And you see our skyline is selected. But look to the right over here. You'll notice that it didn't select these buildings here. So we have to go in and fix that. How do we do that? Well, within the same mask, you have these two new options that are add and subtract. Well, with that same mask selected, we're just going to hit add and then do a select brush. Now, what this does is, because I'm adding within the same mask, it's going to carry the exact same adjustment. So say if I'm changing my shadows or my highlights, it's going to apply that adjustment to all of those different selections within that single mask. It's a beautiful thing. It makes it so easy. So watch what happens. We're going to select our buildings that didn't get selected over here. We're going to select those. And let's say I want to include the rock area over here and maybe those trees. Let's get that in there. Let's get these little bit of the building and the bridge. Okay, that looks good. Now let's deselect our overlay so you can see our adjustments. And we want to bring up our shadows. And we're going to bring up our white level. Boom. Simple. That's it. Doesn't get any easier. Now let's say I want to do something down here with the rocks. Well, I'm going to create another new mask. Actually, the same adjustments that I just made to mask 2, I feel like will still apply for the rock area. So all I have to do is add, and I want a radial gradient this time. So let's just add it over the water. And I didn't even have to adjust anything because it's still using the same adjustments within that entire mask. And you know, that's all it is. Because I add it to the mask, I don't have to worry about those adjustments. They're already there. Now, as you go along, you might have several masks within an image. And it might be confusing if you come back later and you don't remember exactly what every mask is doing. You don't remember what those adjustments are. Well, you can actually rename all of your masks. So if we come in here, my mask 2, I don't know, what do we want to name this mask? We'll do sky and rocks. And now we've named the entire grouping, but now we can also rename the individual masks themselves. So let's say for select subject 1, we'll select this and we're going to rename this. And this was our building. So we'll do buildings. And then the brush was also our buildings because, again, remember we selected the buildings that didn't get in the select subject option. So we'll do that here, buildings brush. You know, name them how you choose, whichever way helps you to remember. So for this one, let's add buildings select. So that way I know that was with the select subject. And then for the radial gradient, we'll put rocks and water because that was at the bottom. And we'll put that bottom. Boom, there we go. So now we've renamed it and we know what it is. For this one, and I actually did that one incorrectly. I forgot, I put sky and rocks there, but that actually was not it. That was buildings and rocks. And let's rename mask 1. Rename that, and this was our sky select. Okay, so now we've renamed them so that way if we come back to the image, we know what each mask was. Helps you out a lot. So get into the habit of doing that. You're going to need that if you have an abundance of masks on an image. Once we've done that, you know, let's go to another image. Let's do one of a person. Now we've already done our edits, but I don't like how the light is in the background. I want to maybe dim that a bit. Let's bring it down in exposure. What I'm going to do is select my mask. We've already done some masks, but let's delete those and redo it. So I'm going to select my subject and it's going to analyze the image. Boom, there we go. It has selected our subject there. But remember, I said I want to edit the background. Well, all we have to do is toggle where it says select subject here. All we have to do is turn on the invert. So then watch what happens. Now, everything but our subject is selected. So if I turn off the overlay, let's make that adjustment. I just want to bring down the exposure. Boom, that's it. That's all we need. So let's say I want to add a little bit of light into her hair and face over here. So all I do is create a new mask. Let's do a brush. We'll change the size of that brush and then come in on this side of her face. And all I want to do is just add a little bit of shadow in there. Not too much, but just to kind of get that detail showing in her hair. And that's all we want. That looks really good. Very simple. All we did was a couple of clicks. You know, selected our subject, hit the invert, made our adjustments. Very simple. Let's go to another example. Let's go to this image. Now, you all have seen this image. This is one of my most popular photos that I've shared. I want to make my sky area a lot darker, as I did that in the original. So let's select sky for our mask. It's going to analyze. We have our sky selected there. And then what I did before, I just brought down my highlights. We're going to do that here. Bring down the highlights. Now, what I did in the original is that I had the wing also with the light that was brought down. But because I did select sky, only the sky was selected. Well, how do we get around that? All we do is add to the mask. I can do either or. I can say, oh, let's do a radial, or I can do a brush, whichever I feel. So let's do a radial. I'm feeling radial right now. So let's just bring that over. Situate that how we want. That looks good. Now, there's a little separation because since the program selected the sky, it didn't account for this part of the window. We want to make sure all of that blends nicely. So let's add in a brush, and then we're just going to highlight the window seal here. So that way that's selected so we don't have that harsh edge, and make sure we get a little bit of the light fading on the window seal since we're bringing that light down. And that looks pretty good. Make sure we got all this in here. So now once we've done that, we want to also do our adjustment on the woman in front here. So all we do is create a new mask, and this time we're going to do select subject. So it's going to do its thing. It's going to analyze the photo. And so our subject is selected, but now I have a piece of the image that I don't want selected. How do I get rid of that? You have these two options, which I mentioned, the add and subtract. This time we're going to use the subtract mask. So it's basically an eraser tool. So we're going to do the subtract, but let's do a subtract. Let's see, I can do either a radial or a brush. Let's bring in the brush. If I come in here, look what's happening. I'm erasing. I'm telling the program, oh, I don't want this area selected as far as when I make those adjustments. Isn't that simple? It's so simple. And then there's a little bit of her hair that's caught in there. So we don't want that changing either. So let's put the eraser tool to that as well. Very, very simple. Once we've done that, now I can make my adjustment. I want to have my subject 1 selected, and we're going to turn off the overlay first so you can see what's taking place. We're going to desaturate a bit, maybe bring down a little of our highlights ever so slightly, and then maybe bring in the shadows a bit. Very simple, so much easier, so much faster. That's important to know. Now let's look at another example here. Let's go to this image. This was another that I've edited previously on this channel. So we want to do an adjustment on our pine cones. So we're going to do select subject. It's going to analyze. Look at that. It's got the pine cones. That's what we want. Now it got a little bit of the branch that's here sort of in the background, and that's okay. That doesn't worry me too much. If I wanted to eliminate it, again, I could just add a subtract mask and take that away, but we're not going to do that. But what I want to do here is just simply add into my shadows. And so we're going to bring up the shadows. That's it. So much more simple. Whereas before I would have had to use the brush tool, or I would have taken the radial gradient and just hovered over that area to select it. But if you want it to be more precise, you would have to use the brush tool. But now with select subject and select sky, it just makes it so much faster, so much cleaner, and so much easier. Now, because we have this capability, I'm going to add in something new that I didn't have in the previous edit. Let's maybe make the pine cone stand out a little bit more by lowering the exposure of the entire background. So let's create a new mask. Let's do select subject again. We're going to do the select subject. So we do want the pine cone selected yet again in a new mask. So we have our pine cone selected again. But this time, we're going to do an invert of it. Now watch it. Watch that. Look at how clean it is. Look at how clean that is. Wow. So now we're going to take off the overlay so you can see the adjustments. And I'm just going to bring down the exposure. Bring it down. So now we have those happy pine cones in the middle to where they're standing out. They're front and center. We have now brought more attention, more emphasis on the pine cones, because now it was so much easier, so much faster to do these kinds of adjustments. Because before, I would have had to take the brush tool and highlight that entire area. It just would have taken more time to do. So this is basically what the new masking tools are and what they can do. You know, I'm still kind of on the surface as far as what you can do with the masking, but I just wanted to get you started. I wanted you to see how a selection of my images that I've shown before and some that I've shown on this channel and have edited previously, and how the new masking tools have sped up that process. I want you all to really try these out for yourself. In all of that excitement, I forgot to actually mention one little aspect about masking that I feel it's very important to mention. So if we look back here in Lightroom, you see this panel that comes out when we selected the mask that we wanted. Well, you can actually move this around on the screen of where you would like it to be placed. Now, say if you don't want it to be on your image, you can just dock it over on the right panel if you want to. So it's out of the way and you can see your full image. So I feel like that was something very necessary to mention. So thanks for watching this, and I hope you enjoy using the brand new masking tools here in Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw. So until next time, I'll see you in the next video.